Hey guys, Huzzy here bringing you another video. Now welcome to another Q&A. Haven't done one of these in quite some time. I actually don't know if I've done one since the move happened. I don't think so, but obviously if you're living under a rock, the move did happen. I have had a couple of people kind of go, wait, you moved? It looks the same. Obviously, I was going to try and mimic what I had before. I quite liked the background that we had. Obviously, it is different. There's no window here anymore, obviously. And, you know, we've double layered. You know, eventually I'll be doing an office tour. And this whole back wall of an office is got all of these display units. And it's pretty much full already. We've just got more organizing to do. But yeah, I just like doing these Q&As occasionally because I've always said when I wasn't a content creator, I sometimes had burning questions to the people that I watched. But a lot of the time they're inaccessible. You can't ask it, or you put it in the YouTube comments and it's quite hard for it to get seen. To be fair, like in my comment section, if there is a genuine question, I a lot of the time do read it and reply, but this is a better way of doing it, more or less. And I will say the reason why I'm actually doing this Q&A is because it was prompted by one specific question, and we'll start with that one because it was from Facetious Movie 3. He actually said it in the Twitch chat, and I was like, oh, that's actually a really cool and interesting question. It's probably even the title of this Q&A. Also worth knowing, the footage on the screen, as always, if it was a good game, it would have been uploaded as a live commentary. If it wasn't a great game, it would probably be uploaded as a Q&A or background footage. So the gameplay you're seeing is probably not the best, to be fair. So anyway, let's start with the first question. That is, basically, when you're in Champ Select, why and how do you decide what champion... What am I picking? Why am I picking that champion? How am I knowing what to pick in the right situation? I thought it was a really interesting question that actually has many different answers. And it also definitely varies on you as an individual player. Like I briefly answered it on stream, and I said I can kind of answer it a bit more in the Q&A. But it depends, obviously, what type of player you are. Like even some people in the Twitch chat were answering it and talking about it. If you're a one trick, well, that's pretty much decided for you because you gotta play your one trick, right? If you're a champion pool player, then, you know, are you blind picking? So are you leaning on the champion that's better against generic things, or are you going more specialist? It can be multifaceted. So all I've got to kind of go through is what my approach is. So if we give the example of me as a player, I would call myself a champion pool player with the chance to play random things. Like I still in Master will play random things. We played the Pike game a few days ago, and that's really random for me. I will still pull out random things every now and then because that's just what I enjoy with League. I hate the idea of being very much limited in what I'm going to play, and that's what I've always said, you know, not hating one tricks, but to me it's the complete opposite of how I'd want to play League. I don't get the idea of just limiting yourself to one, maybe two things. Like that is to me the epitome of boredom for me. So how do I go about it? Well, again, it depends if you're blind pick or not, because there's the very basic principle initially is if you're blind pick, then you've got to pick something that's better against most champions, because if you pick something specialist, you could get countered easily. If you are the one that's counter picking, then you can counter pick your matchup if you want to. So that is like the first thing. Am I blind picking or am I counter picking? That will determine what champion sometimes. For me, and again, this is where it will differ me as a player than others. If I've played the champion in the same play session. So I very much don't play the same champions all the time. Even let's say Anivia, it would be very rare for me to play two Anivia games in the same play session. You know, I know like a week or two ago, we uploaded 3 Nautilus games back to back, which was very unlike what I do. But I'm pretty sure those Nautilus games were spread out in 1 to 2 play sessions. They weren't played all back to back from each other. I don't really do that. So even though, and this is kind of the weird thing, even, you know, wanting to climb in Master more, but I'm in mid lane, oh my god, this matchup is perfect for Swain, but I played Swain last game, I probably won't pick Swain. And that's just a personal decision that I've made, that I kind of get bored too easily. So I sometimes won't pick potentially the best matchup champion that I can play if I've already played that champion in that play session. And that's where you could be completely different. You might be fine with playing the same champion. And by the way, playing the same champion a couple times in a row, it does give consistency, but I'm comfortable enough that my consistency is kind of okay. If I ever felt like my consistency was bad enough that it was losing me games, I would probably start playing 2 to 3 Swain games in a row, 2 to 3 Anivia games in a row. But I've never felt it was like one of my worst things, so I don't feel the need to. Obviously, the really broad one is your feeling. What do you actually want to play? It's a video game in the end of the day. What are you in the mood to play? And that's the thing, that one completely gets rid of every other category. Even, and this is the category that I'd say one tricks belong into, because they clearly enjoy one champion above everything else. That's why they're one tricking it most of the time. That's what they want to do. They enjoy, let's say it's an Ari one trick. They're going to play Ari in no matter what matchup. Even if the matchup's not favorable, they enjoy their Ari, so they're going to play it. And that is also in mine. If I wake up one day and go, dude, I'm really in the mood to play Zed, and I get that feeling occasionally, I will just play Zed, you know? And sometimes it's not a very favorable matchup. But that's the whole video game part, is play what you enjoy. And I've always said that, you know, would I recommend someone to one trick? Hell no. I think it overall hurts you as a player that helps you. But I've always said, if genuinely you've played pretty much every single champion in the league and you've come to the conclusion you literally just enjoy that one champion out of like 160, which I would say I think is difficult if you only enjoy one out of 160. But if it genuinely is true, then one trick, go for it, because that's what your enjoyment is. So yeah, like enjoyment level kind of gets rid of every other category. But again, and then the other ones are what your team comp is, what the enemy team comp is. Sometimes you could pick a champion that isn't very good in your matchup, but it goes really well with your comp and it complements your comp. A great example of this is like Anivia. Anivia has some okay matchups. She also has some pretty bad matchups. Like, for example, Kassadin is a nightmare for Anivia, because Anivia, in my experience, you can't punish him enough in the early game. He can kind of get away with it. And if Kassadin can get away with a matchup, he can scale into being a monster. But if your whole comp is built about team fighting, then Anivia complements that. Like, it's going to make your team fight even better. So that is like an example that, yeah, you're not picking something that's going to punish a Kassadin in lane phase, but your team fight is so strong that it shouldn't really matter. That's kind of also getting into the dynamic of what to pick and what not to pick. Again, if the enemy team is really squishy, great example of my Zed game a week or two ago, where I played Zed, I was against a Zeri mid, and the enemy team was Ezreal Lux bot lane. Genuinely picked Zed because I was like, dude, there's 3 champions on the enemy team that I can sneeze and basically kill. That's another type of why am I picking that champion. So that's basically the answer. There's many different reasons to why people are picking champions. Champion enjoyment should be your number one. Do not play champions you don't have fun playing. What's the point of playing a video game? So champion enjoyment should be number one, the priority. Obviously, yeah, we haven't really mentioned a bit. Are you good at that champion? If you're going into your own ranked stats and like, oh, you like playing Vladimir, but you've got a 10% win rate in 50 games, maybe that's not the best idea. You've also got to kind of go into that as well. So all of that combined is the decision of what champion you're going to play. And all of that happens in basically, you know, a minute, less than a minute. When you're in Champ Select and someone's locked in their champion, it's your turn to pick. You've got to go through all of those categories very quickly in your head and come to the conclusion of what you want to play. And again, that's one of the benefits of one tricking, if you ever will. It completely gets rid of all of that. You don't have to think about counter picking or whatever, you know, counters or team comp or anything. That goes away because you're just going to play that one thing. So again, when people say to me, Huz, name a benefit of one tricking, one of the benefits is you know what you're going to play every game. You know, that is one of them. Also, your consistency level should be pretty good. So yeah, that is the answer that I can give. There's not a definitive answer. It's all these different categories merged into one, and that's how you come out with, that's the champion I'm going to play for me. Next question is, Vamp Queen says, do I think there is still too much damage, or do I think it's fine? I personally think there still is too much damage, and by the patch notes, if you've been kind of keeping up with them, they are subtly returning the damage into the game. Maybe it's not even subtle anymore. It's every single patch note. They're increasing the damage on average. So I wasn't like, again, I've been in dev meetings, as you guys know. Riot liked the high damage. There's no hiding that. They did, for some reason. Assassins, I still think are obnoxiously easy and very strong. You'll still see Kianas and Rengars one-shot people with basically just a serrated Dirk pre-level 6. I don't think that's okay. So personally, yes, I do think the damage is too high still. I think it's better. I think the durability update did a lot of good things. Again, what the durability update did is, again, the champion examples that we just gave, you know, Rengar, Kiana, Echo, these champions before the durability update could build as bruisers and still one-shot you. They can't do that anymore. You know, admittedly, they can't. They have to play as assassins, but they still can one-shot you fairly easily. And can they one-shot you a bit too early into the game? I think so, yes. I'm fine with one-shots. You know, I play Zed. I should be able to one-shot at level 16. If I'm going on a level 14 squishy AD carry, yeah, I should probably be able to one-combo that AD carry. But again, level 5 Kiana with a serrated Dirk, basically one-comboing somebody, I'm personally not okay with that. I think that's still a bit too high, but that's just me. Next up is PK Smith, says 2 questions. First question is favorite part of being a content creator. There's many good facets of being a content creator, genuinely, you know, being on kind of your own schedule. If there is an emergency, you know, I know for some people, like getting out of work or something is quite awkward, where I can technically set my own diary. You know, I do generally have the same schedule every week, unless something changes. I stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and my 2 days off are Wednesday and Sunday. My stream knows this. That is my general schedule. There are exceptions to that. For example, I streamed yesterday, which was Saturday. I'm recording this on Sunday, but I'm streaming again later today. The reason why I'm streaming later today on Sunday, Clash. You know, I've started to play Clash mode again. So I'm actually streaming both weekend days now occasionally. But no, that is a good advantage of being a content creator, or generally self-employed, is being able to set your own diary. Obviously there are negatives to that as well, but you know, you can become complacent if you set your own diary. You can become a bit lazy about it, but I'm pretty rigorous in what I do. I do 2 videos up every day. I'm sure we all have those content creators we subscribe to that they'll upload a video once a month and that's about it. I don't know how you can do that, but I like to think I'm pretty hardworking in that aspect. But my absolute peak favorite thing, and I know it's people gonna go, oh, here we go. It might sound cheesy, but it's the community. Generally, the people that are a part of my community is the favorite thing with my job. You know, some people might say, oh, it's the fact that you play video games. People always will say that who aren't content creators. You know, it's the weird thing. I love playing video games. When I play video games in my spare time, it is vastly different to when I'm streaming or making content. When I'm streaming and making content, it's not playing video games, it's my job. It's a different mindset completely. It's more try hard, it's not casual. That's the whole point. So that part is cool, it's amazing still, but it's not what a lot of people expect. That's where it becomes more sometimes frustrating rather than pure enjoyment. But no, generally the favorite thing is my community. Getting to know, as we call ourselves, the plebs over the last couple of years especially. The community's got a lot closer since COVID, I would say. It's been a pleasure. It really has. Everyone is so welcoming and lovely. And people, you can tell, people genuinely want the best for each other. And that just makes me really happy. You know, one thing that I always try to spread is if you've got good news, and, you know, don't give out too much personal information, but if you've got good news, feel free to share it when I'm streaming, because good news is contagious. So when people has a new job or something of that nature, people tell each other on Twitch chat, and that just makes me happy. That is generally when I've been having a bad play session, completely switched my mindset of when I'm hearing that kind of good news in the chat, and that's the power of the community. So definitely the community is my favorite thing. You know, when my time as a content creator is over, and hopefully that is still quite a few years away, the sad thing for me, the biggest sad thing, will be not interacting as much with the community. That's going to be the really hard thing for me. And I'm never going to go fully away. You know, I'll say that right now. I'm still always going to have the Discord server. I'm still going to have my Twitter. I will still probably stream occasionally, you know, whenever I have moved on as a full-time creator. And again, saying this, hopefully this is years away, hopefully. But I don't see myself disappearing, as it were. You know, I don't see myself. I care too much about the community to disappear, because we've made a lot of good friendships within the community. People have literally, you know, at the recent TwitchCon, a bunch of the plebs met up with each other, and I wasn't even there. So to me, it's absolutely wonderful. And again, hopefully years to come, we can keep doing this and keep the pleb community going strong. And then the second part is favorite part about working out. I've spoken about this before, but it's the primal feeling of lifting something heavy. it's really hard to explain. You know, if you've never worked out to that degree, or you know, you do more cardio, I'm sure cardio has the equivalent of hitting a new time, you know, running a certain time in under a mile or something, or a kilometer or 10 kilometers. When you hit a new time that you get and never beaten, there's that primal instinct. It's the same with lifting weights. You know, when I lifted 200 kilo off the floor for the first time, there's that primal like, oh my god, I lifted that. You know, this upcoming week, I'm going for a new PB, 210 kilo, 462 pounds on a deadlift, and that's pretty damn good. I've lifted it off the floor twice, but not quite got lockout. Hopefully I'll get lockout this week. It's honestly, I've got many things in my life to be happy about. Trust me, I love my life as it is right now, but nothing quite gives me that complete satisfaction of lifting that thing. You know, it's weird. It's that caveman primal feeling that is hard to replicate. It really is. So that to me is my favorite part of working out. Is the satisfaction of going, oh yeah, I lifted that. Like, it's cool. So yeah. Reyes says, what is the next step in balancing League? Also, what rework should be reverted? Ooh. I'm not a massive believer of reverting reworks, because to me, reworks are more forward progression than backwards progression. I know it's happened in some cases, like the LeBlanc one, the Rengar one, that sometimes it doesn't fully work out. But I'm probably also not the best person to ask this question, because generally when it comes to champion reworks and stuff like that, that is for more the mains that plays those champions. And obviously none of my mains, well, apart from Swain at the moment, I would say, but his has definitely been beneficial. None of my mains have had massive changes. And to be honest, if a main of mine got changed, let's say, oh, they're changing Anivia and I didn't enjoy it, it's going to sound weird, but I just stopped playing the champion. I'd move on. You know, I'm not somebody that's going to kind of be sitting here kind of going, change it. I'm going to still play it though. I just move on to a new champ. You know, that's I've always said, I don't really get a big connection with champions. There are some people out there that they put their whole identity to the champions they main. I don't get that. Like, I just move on to a new champion. I'll get bored, go to a different champ, do it all again every few weeks. So the worst thing to know is this season in League of Legends is pretty much the biggest ever season that I've kept the same champion pool for an extended period of time. But I've never kept a champion pool for very long. It used to be a meme when I used to do my champion pool videos at the beginning of the season. You used to see in the comments going, okay, Huzz will have a whole new set of champions in 2 weeks. Literally, that's what people said, because it was true. I literally got bored of champions within 2 weeks, started playing other stuff. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember fully, but I think my champion pool from the beginning of the season is still somewhat the same. Yes, there are differences. Swain was definitely not there, but like Anivia, I think was, like Ari was, but yeah, I phased out a bit of Ari. But like, it is relatively the same stuff. So I am maining more of the same stuff nowadays than ever. So as for reworks, none of them spring to my mind. If you guys want to answer that one, go ahead in the comments. And then what is the next step in balancing League? Well, again, in my opinion, like we briefly touched on earlier, I would further reduce the damage. I'd also reduce champion self-healing, which I do think they're trying to do a little bit in the upcoming patch. I'd nerf Gore Drinker again, because that is obnoxiously strong. I'd probably even buff Grievous Wounds. Maybe that is just simply the answer, because they nerfed Grievous Wounds so much. Then Gore Drinker champions especially are crazy right now. You know, when you combine something like a Kayn that has already self-healing and an Aatrox with then Gore Drinker, and then you nerf Grievous Wounds, it's a bit weird that they've allowed that to happen. So maybe I'd look into healing again. Riot seem they can't quite make up their mind there. But anyway. Next one by Doom Guy says, I think a lot of players have been debating about new champion releases and their really obvious similarities with older champions like Bel'Veth and Master Yi, Neela and Samira. Do I personally think that this power creep approach will make even more balancing issues and problems in the future? Oh, yeah, guarantee it. So some people may even ask questions like, why are there similarities between new champions and old? For the very, very basic reason, you run out of ideas. League has 160 champions. There's only so many mechanics and things you can make within League of Legends. So they do have to lean on and borrow mechanics from older champions and kind of give them a fresh lick of paint. Some people, including myself, kind of feel you don't need to make a new champion to achieve that. You could just do an updated rework. But here's the thing, Riot make a lot of their money from brand new champions. Because think about it, if you own Master Yi and you update him to become Belveth, just as a crazy example, because they are quite similar, well, everybody pretty much already owns Master Yi. Everyone owns a lot of his skins, so Riot's not really making any money. But if you release a brand new champion, well, suddenly everybody has to buy the new champion. And then, oh, her skin, everybody doesn't own that skin. You make more. So yeah, I do think it's always going to... The basic thing I'll say of, like, not even champion similarities, the more champions that are in League, the harder it is to balance the game, because there are more outliers that could be broken. It's that simple. The more items there are, the more of anything is going to make it harder to balance, because let's say the balance team has got 10, 15, 20 staff. There's already thousands of combinations of items and champions that go together. They can't catch all the outliers. There's always going to be outliers of balance every single patch. And the more champions there are, the more items there are, the more that's going to happen. And that, I think, is why it does sometimes seem that a lot of the new champions do release broken, because they can't test enough. They can't. It's impossible. So yeah, like, I do think the game is already very hard to balance. We've seen that for the last couple of years, and it's going to continue to get really hard to balance too. So yeah. Next one is Alex. What is the most rewarding character to play in League in terms of fun and mechanics? Well, again, that is a very personal question. Everyone's going to have their own answer, because I remember talking in Twitch chat that when I used to play a lot of Shen, I found Shen really fun, but I find Malphite boring. There's some people that are the complete opposite. They find Malphite fun, but Shen really boring. It's complete personal opinion. There's not a correct answer, and that's completely fine, because we're all different. And again, it's good to be different, because otherwise it would be very boring. Personally, for me, if I had to name one champion that is in terms of absolute fun, when you're doing well, it's satisfying, I'd probably, for me personally, say Gangplank. I just think he's so satisfying with his barrel combos, ulti, the Q, everything just works really well. Yes, I do think the champion is probably still a bit too strong, obviously, and I know people have that bias against him, but in terms of mechanics, I think his mechanics are just very, very nice. Next up is Dinkastan Doodle says, what do you think about characters like Ryze, Aphelios, and Azir in regards to balance around pro play instead of SoloQ? You have to. It's that simple. I know that I've even seen recently on social media people going, oh, it's stupid that Riot balances to pro play. You have to. The reason why you have to is because you have to balance your game to whatever the pinnacle, for a competitive game, you have to balance to the pinnacle of that competitive ladder. The absolute pinnacle of League of Legends is pro play. It is. Like, that is... I know it's not the goal of every single player, but if you're a ranked player, the goal is challenger, but the goal when you're challenger above is pro player. It's the pinnacle. That's what you have to balance too. And that is when I think League of Legends was at its absolute best in terms of balance. Riot have actually changed it over the last couple of years. And you even see that in the patch notes where they've got all these color coding of why a champion's getting changed. And they have a color to what rank it's getting changed because of. Riot used to, years ago, be very open that they used to balance top down completely. They only balanced the top down. So if something was broken in bronze, they didn't care. Unless it was broken in pro play and challenger, etc., they wouldn't do anything about it. I actually think that's a much more effective way to balance, because every single rank player's goal is to climb. So it doesn't matter if something's is broken in bronze. If it's not strong in high rating, well, it's irrelevant. Like when the goal of every player is climbing up, if someone's overly relying on that broken thing in bronze, well, by silver or gold, it's already phased out and that player won't climb anymore. That's the point. So I think it's healthy when a game is balanced around pro play / high rating. I do think there are some obviously bad outliers about it, because like the ones you've named there, Ryze, Aphelios, Azir, the reason why these are outliers is because they are so good in the hands of amazing players and or a team that's working well together. That's kind of Ryze's. But for example, Azir, the prime one, whenever someone throws out win rate's important, you always just give the counter of Azir. Azir was nerfed insanely hard a few years ago with a 44% overall win rate. 44%, terrible. One of the worst win rates you've ever seen in League of Legends in solo queue. But in pro play, he was pick or ban, and whichever team actually got him, it was a free win. Or in challenger, it was a free win. That's the problem, is there are certain differences between lower and higher rating. And unfortunately, and I know this might sound kind of against what I said earlier, that Riot's balancing here or there, but Riot nowadays, it seems that their ethos is they want to try and make champions viable in every rank. A perfect example of that is Master Yi. The reason Master Yi balance was completely tone deaf with SoloQ, because he's already broken in low rating, but they only give him buffs to make him good in high rating. But what's that going to do to low rating? It's going to make him even more broken, and in high rating people can still kind of play around Master Yi, so it just makes it more broken at one end of the scale. But with Azir, 44% win rate in SoloQ taking over high rating, they have to nerf it. So everybody sitting in gold or silver playing Azir freaked out going, why are they nerfing my champion? It's got a 44% win rate. Not understanding, put that same champion in the hands of a god tier player, it's unbeatable. That's the point. You have to, because it's a massive outlier. When the pinnacle of the game, challenger pro play, it's a free win. You have to do something about it. So that's kind of the thing. I'm fine with it. There are, Azir is the example, I would say, that it's a positive thing that they did that. There are some other negative ways. The best probably example of that in recent history has been Renekton. Renekton, really fun champion. I like Renekton. I know people might be surprised me saying that. I don't love how early game he is orientated, because I don't like early game champions, but he's really satisfying to play. But in pro play, when you've got coordination and you've got a whole strategy involved, they picked Renekton, used his early game prowess to secure top lane, secure Rift, secure Dragon early, build the early lead, and then use Renekton as a distraction late game for their hyper carry AD carry. As a strategy, altogether as a team comp, it works really well. So what ultimately they did was Renekton is too reliable on being that kind of strength early game. We need to tone him down because he's taking over pro play. But he's already an early game champion in SoloQ. They're toning him down even more. Well, then you're nerfing a early game's champion's early game. Then he doesn't have a late game, and you're nerfing his early game for SoloQ when they're not in SoloQ having this grand strategy to make work. So basically is you completely screw something like Renekton, because then they can't even use their power of early game in SoloQ. That is like basically what they have to lean on. So that's kind of the negative of doing that too. Unfortunately, it's kind of what needs to be done. Otherwise, you get the outliers of things taking over Challenger or Pro Play. But I do understand there are frustrations to it, obviously, as well. Anyway. Do you put much thought into skin lines? I often watch TBS Skin critique them. I don't know who that is, but anyway. And that is interesting. Not really, no. I do own every skin in the game, so some people may be thinking, Huz really looks into skins, he owns every single one. No, I don't really care. Skins to me aren't a big deal. Like when I see people getting like angry or upset by how one color on a skin is slightly wrong, I'm like, why? I don't understand that, to be honest. To me, they're optional cosmetics. They are literally optional. You don't have to care about them. I choose to own them all. Not really out of, like, I feel like I need to. I wouldn't really own them all unless I did my loot series. That has been a big drive on why I actually own all of them, is because I do the loot videos that I try to make engaging to, is this event worth it for the audience? If I didn't do those, I probably wouldn't be buying as many skins as I do. Well, all of them. But no, I don't really put much thought into skins. Like, yes, obviously some of them I'm like, oh, that looks cool, or that doesn't look great. But apart from that, I don't really put much more thought into it, if I'm honest. Next up is thoughts on the current state of top lane. Do I think the new changes will ruin the role? I think it's already ruined, to be honest. That's why I don't play it anymore. Which I know some people have said it's quite sad that I don't play top, because a lot of people enjoyed historically me playing top lane, because historically, before me getting master this year in mid, top lane was my master role. That's in season 9, I achieved master being a top laner. I played most of my competitive League of Legends in top lane. So I know some people have been a bit sad that I have not played top lane, but to me, the role has been completely ruined. And I know to some people it's what they enjoy, and I respect that to a certain degree, but I really dislike split push. I've said this many, many times. I play League of Legends for team fights. It's what I really enjoy. I love team fighting. And unfortunately, and it kind of stemmed off, and I know it's not broken anymore, but it stemmed off Hullbreaker being broken. Basically, when Hullbreaker was broken, every single top laner bought it, which also forced every single top laner to prioritize split pushing. And even though they toned down Hullbreaker and everything, the mentality of split pushing has stayed. That majority of the meta top laners just split push 24/7. That is hell to me. Like, I don't want to play a role that I'm just stuck in the 1v1 the entire game. I like lane phase. I like beating my opponent early in the lane phase. I don't want to stay in a 1v1 the entire game. I love team fighting. So that to me is ruined top lane, and that's why I don't play it ultimately. I don't want to be just 30 minutes in top lane in a 1v1. I like team fighting. I do understand, obviously, some frustrations of top laners, because one of the counters to that was teleport. And unfortunately, in the upcoming patch, or potentially not anymore, I think Riot might have postponed it because of the community's reaction, is they want to nerf teleport again. They've already nerfed it like crazy. They want to nerf it again to make it more punishing to take teleport. Like, if the proposed change goes ahead eventually, if you take Ignite and your lane opponent has teleport, you could Ignite or have your Ignite 2.5 times up on cooldown by the time your opponent gets teleport back once. That is ridiculous. Like, that is just, if you say that out loud, it literally is ludicrous. They are really, to me, they may as well just delete the summoner spell. If they don't want it in the game, just get rid of it at this stage. Because yeah, if that change does come through, again, they said they might have postponed it. There is no point taking teleport. It really isn't. You may as well take a combat summoner and be more fighty in lane phase. It's that simple. All right, next up, Hextech Jinx says, do I think lobby challenges and titles were a success, or do I think they may be a bit underwhelming? I think they were always going to be underwhelming. Again, this was Riot's third attempt of a non-pure ranked progression system. Initially, it was mastery points, then it was Eternals, and now it's challenges. I personally don't think any of them will ever be truly successful, because League of Legends is so bound to rank being the pinnacle of success. Nothing is ever going to hold up to that. Again, they're fun. I like the titles, you know, that they are a nice thing to have. I don't personally feel, unless it just hasn't happened yet, Riot came out with, oh, you'll be able to customize your profile anytime you want or any way you want. That really hasn't felt true. You can pick a couple of elements that don't really change that much. You can't really get, you know, the 3 icons that you can pick on your profile. They don't really look like anything impressive or anything different, really. So do I think they were a failure? No. But do I think they were a success? No. It's kind of mediocre. Like, am I happy it's in League? Yeah. But would I be sad if it wasn't? No. It hasn't really added too much. But again, I'm the wrong demographic. I've always said this. I'm the wrong demographic for Eternals. I'm the wrong demographic for mastery points, because I'm a ranked player. So I genuinely will judge myself and other players off their rank. If you're a normal game player or an ARAM player, you don't have rank to go off. So you will judge people more of mastery points. You will judge people more of challenges. And that's fine. You know, that's kind of what those systems are for. I'm the completely wrong demographic, a more hardcore master ranked player. Challenges just aren't in my mind when I'm looking to progress in League. But for some people, it is what they are progressing in. So that is completely fine. It's not a negative for me to have it in the game. It's a non-factor, really. Okay, so Hopark says, how do you climb, and has potentially a few questions. How do you climb with a simple champion like Mal's? Because you tend to go even or slightly ahead, but a lot of its champion matchup, it depends on your team's follow-up. That one is your decision making. Again, if you're playing a basic champion, a non-mechanical champion, it's your decision making that will carry you through more than your mechanics, because you're limited by your mechanics. Like a bronze Malzahar versus a challenger Malzahar, there isn't actually that much different between their mechanics, because there can't be. He's not a massively mechanical champion. Same with a Master Yi or a Garen or something like that. There's only so much you can do mechanically playing those champions. What makes them good or makes them a different, you know, what differentiates those players is purely their decision making. Like 95% of it is decision making when you're playing a basic champ. So how is your decision making? Are you making the right choices? As a Malzahar specifically, are you ulting the right target at the right time? Are you roaming when you might need to? Are you helping secure objectives? Those are the things that will contribute you to carrying as a more basic kind of anti-carry champion, as it were. Next one is, what games am I most excited for in the upcoming year? Two really, both single player games. God of War Ragnarok and Hogwarts Legacy. I'm really looking forward to those. Most likely will not stream God of War. That'll be, I've got my PS5 in my lounge, so I will probably play that on my sofa in my spare time. But I am thinking of getting Hogwarts Legacy on the PC, therefore I might be able to stream that a bit as a bit of variety. And then for content creation is, do I have any tips on starting? For example, is it better to do long content or short? Is it better to talk or do highly edited? Well, my advice is find your own style. Like, I didn't just randomly come in, make the content that I make. It took me years of kind of doing little different things. And, I very much prefer more long format content, my full game commentaries. I've had years of people going, oh, Huzz, you should do edited content. But I don't like edited content. That's why I don't do it. I like the more long form content, and maybe it's a bit out of date, sure, but why would I upload something that I personally don't enjoy myself? That's kind of my reasoning for it. Generally, again, just have fun. I think Shmion has an answer question. Sorry, here he goes. Trying to get into streaming advice. The answer generally into any type of content is the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be. Because more people are streaming, more people are making YouTube videos than ever before. Every single day, more people are doing it because it's becoming more of a prime thing to do. So the longer you put it off, the more likely it's not going to succeed. But also, I would say, again, don't have the expectation of succeeding. It's really hard to break into content. Trust me, I know. It's hard to grow. There's so much competition. And what I will say, is, what gap are you filling? Is if you look at the market right now, in whether it comes to streaming or content creation on YouTube, let's just stay with League of Legends. If you look at all the content creators in League of Legends, and I will say there's actually not as many big content creators of League of Legends as there used to be. A lot of them have actually quit or moved on. But what gap in the content creation market are you filling? Are you filling you're a high rating top laner? Are you filling you're a high rating specific player? No one else uploads Yone content for Shmion, but there's the Zoo Kill or whatever his name is, so he's got a kind of he's got that covered. So is that kind of my gap in the market gone? Try to find a gap in the market. That's probably the best way to go. If I genuinely had to give advice for actual content creation, as weird as this may sound, is don't do League of Legends. And I know this might be like, huh? I've also been watching videos, pretty much my whole YouTube career on ways to grow, ways to be healthy, and the general advice is don't upload. If you're a brand new content creator, don't choose to upload content, if you can, on an older game. You'll most likely get success when a brand new game launches and try to break into that market when there's no active content creators in it. Go straight away. Happened when Warzone came out. The amount of content creators that were small streamers for different little FPS games that absolutely blew up when Warzone came out was huge. There was millions of them that did it. They rode the Warzone wave, as it were. That might be a thing to do, is wait for a game that you're expecting to come out and you'll enjoy and ride that wave up. But if you do want to do League of Legends, as I said, is try to find what your gap is. What is your gap? Why would people watch? And, yes, there's always the personality kind of way, but that's not something that you can predict. Some people will like your personality, some people won't. What was mine, if somebody's like, what was mine? Mine historically was I can play a lot of champions to high level, which is quite rare. Like I know that's my niche. Most people who do what I do, live commentaries, will generally stick to one role or stick to a very small set of the same champions. There's not many channels out there that can do unranked diamonds playing most champions in the game. That's kind of what my niche has always been. So that was mine. Again, especially that was mine a few years ago. We are starting to kind of specialize a bit more in trying to get up in master, and we're having to limit the champion pool, which historically is not what I've always done. But that was my niche, and I still do that a bit in unranked diamond. But yes, we are prioritizing the main account this year. But that's the point, is find your gap. Anyway, next one. Hextech Jinx says, read this out loud. Script. Question. Have you joined my Discord, followed my stream, and made sure that you left a comment, liked, and subscribed? And if so, don't forget to click that notification button to never miss a video. And make sure to join me and my amazing pleb community on Twitch and hang out with me while I make amazing content for you guys. That is a message from Hextech Jinx, I guess, to the YouTube audience. God damn it. What is my opinion on the best overtake in F1 history? Oh god, I can't think of that on the top of my mind right now. What do I think about the direction events are going? Is there anything you'd like to see change with them? Again, I don't know specifically what direction of events we're talking about. Presumably League. I think, again, League did take a step correct in the right direction with a durability update. I just hope they're not going to undo that in time. Why did I start streaming? I've answered this one many times before, but it was generally being lonely. I did YouTube about, I want to say about a year or so before I started streaming. Again, crazy enough, I know to some people this might be surprising, and maybe I'll try to do something for it, but next year, I think around March, will actually be my 10-year anniversary making content on YouTube, believe it or not. Absolutely crazy. But I started doing YouTube first, and I did YouTube for a good year or two before I started streaming. And the reason why I started streaming was I was so isolated. I was alone. You know, as simple as that sounds, or weird as that sounds, making videos with no one there, it was a bit haunting in a way. So the fact that I could go live, and when I first streamed, literally for about 2 years, I had about 20 people in my audience when I was live streaming. But that helped. Just having those 20 people really helped to the content. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea since I started streaming from the early days, that I'm more, some people will say I'm more stream focused than I am YouTube focused. I'd like to think I'm both, about 50%. You know, I upload 2 videos a day every single day on YouTube. That is incredible dedication. I'm actively making videos. I'm doing my intros of YouTube. I'm not ignoring the fact that I'm not making videos. I am making videos while I'm streaming. I'd like to think I'm about 50% in either, you know, platform. But I've been a fan of, you know, back in the day when I even started streaming, I pretty much ignored that I was streaming. It was probably like 90% stream and 90% video making, 10% streaming, where yeah, now it's more 50-50. I know some people don't like that because they feel it's a bit too casual in some aspects, or I'm not focusing enough on the content or the education. And that is one thing I'll say. I know the education in the videos has slipped over the last couple of years. I'm aware of that. Part of it, again, I'm not going to get all into it now, but I'm aware of it and I know what I need to do in order to fix those couple of things. But I'll say one is the rating that we're in, especially on the main account. It's incredibly hard to be educational while playing because I have to concentrate so hard in doing well that it's hard to completely go over the educational value while I'm playing. That's why POV commentaries, in my opinion, are the most educational content I make, because you're seeing my perspective, but after the fact. So I can focus on education, but you're still seeing what I'm doing in the moment. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that is going to be it. If you guys enjoyed this Q&A, I enjoyed doing it, over 40 minutes long, not too bad. Please do throw a like on the video, comment down below. If you've got any more questions, I'll try to read the comment section and answer them in the comments, because why not? But yeah, that's going to be it. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.